welcome to Men in Transition at MITfreshstart.org. My name is Dan Burley, and I'm the host of today's video blog. Today we have our co-founder, Darnell, and our guest, Glenn. And today the topic is what needs to be done to slow down the revolving door of prison. So with that, we'll get started with our two guests. I have Glenn to my left, and I have Darnell to my right. So both men have been involved in, Darnell's been involved in prison ministry, and Glenn's a friend to this ministry, and he's been involved in the whole prison system, knows it really well. So let's get started, and I'll throw this question to you, Darnell. What needs to happen? We know the recidivism rate's really high, like 70%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, meaning, the 7 out of 10 guys will return, or men particularly, will return back to prison in 5 years.
Right.
So what can we do to slow that down? What program needs to happen in or outside of prison?
Okay, yeah, that's an incredible question to ask, as you just mentioned.
And don't feel bad about speaking up.
Okay, Will do.
Thank you.
So as you mentioned earlier, the recidivism rate is 70%. Within 5 years, people go back into prison.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that happen during that time. And when we talk about revolving door, we talk about the negative influences that can come around from leaving prison.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, people are combating with drugs and alcohol, and they're dealing with all kinds of family issues and things that they have dealt growing up in life. So even the time of rejection as well. So if you go and you try to go look for a job and you can't find a job and you feel rejected, and you get back into the same thing.
Right.
So when we talk about the recidivism rate, we talk about what can we do to prevent that and that revolving door.
Right.
Which provides support systems, as what we have right now, like MenInTransitionFreshStart.org, that we provide life skills and job opportunities for post-incarcerated men.
Right.
So
you're saying a good part of it is just because of dysfunctional background. Probably most of the men in prison probably come from, unfortunately, from a dysfunctional background. So you have all that in play. When they come out, there's no there's no life skills. There's no life skill training. So there's no mentorship.
right.
There's no. Basically, they're on their own, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
And it's just not just most of the men that's coming from those for dysfunctional backgrounds. It's about mental health. It's about things that can be rehabilitating a person to help them become the better version of themselves.
That's true.
Right. Maximize their full potential.
Right.
Giving hope to the hopeless in a time that they can be at their worst time.
Okay.
So I feel like that personally, that providing programs, providing resources, like what our organization is doing, is providing resources to people as soon as they get
So we're talking about resources, how to finding a job, getting employed, or resources and probably housing because they need a place to stay, right?
Absolutely. And as you know, with going into Kairos and being a part of the Kairos ministry, we have seen that most of the guys had happy faces by the end of the weekend, based on the support level.
It's based on the mentoring support.
Yeah, so mentorship, friendship, support,
fellowship,
and continuous follow-up with which our organization provides to post-incarcerated men.
Okay, excellent. All right, I'm going to pose that same question to you, Glenn, and I'm more curious about, like, inside prisons, do these programs even exist in the prison where they have life skill programming and trades, things like that the guys should get in prison, so when they come out, they're ready to be able to obtain jobs. So you have all this time in jail or in prison where you're probably not acquiring any information, any knowledge, or any skills. So can you address that right off?
Yeah, sure. First of all, what Darnell said was absolutely spot on. I mean, the issues dealing with most inmates is, there's generally a background, and the background can be anything from apathy to lack of schooling or mental health. And all those factors, play into a part as to your thinking and maybe your direction in life when you get out. But addressing your question, there used to be. I mean, let me say first, really, I mean, there's a lot you can do to help somebody when they get out, but it all starts with when you first get into prison, when you get into county jail.
Right.
And the culture has changed so much in there that, do they have programs? Very, very little anymore.
Right.
And,
well, again, if programs have been proven to help people not come back to prison, then why do they not have these programs?
well, it's a great question, but it's the culture of society and the way that our government looks at punishment versus rehabilitation anymore.
Right. Right.
And you have both sides. You have Democrats, Republicans, but you have people that are rehabilitation minded,
Right.
and then you have people that are more punishment minded. Society in itself has grown worse, a lot more violence, a lot more out there in your face violence.
Right.
So that's greatly affected the way programs are in prison. You have a budget, and that budget is going to go.
It goes,
where it once went into program to help rehabilitate somebody, now it goes into the cops union, the guards union,
or maintenance or something else.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So it's the culture.
Okay.
And the gang problem is very real inside prison.
Right.
It's very real, and for those that have never been in there, it's hard to imagine a society where you get in there and you're almost forced to be a racist.
Yeah.
You're almost forced to be a separatist. You're almost forced into a drug culture.
Right.
There's a lot of negatives in there, and it doesn't always just fall on the person that's in there like it's his choice or it's not his choice.
Right. So in terms of that, so even if you weren't a racist, you go into prison and essentially you are for survival. So you come out, coming out, that's not a skill that's going to get you work and and again, I hear you saying that, because of prison, the way it is, that certain habits are formed. When you come out, you still have those habits, and those habits aren't conducive to living on the outside, right?
Right, exactly. It doesn't
very
necessarily
racially divided, and you don't have skill programming in the prison. Then you come, and now you're coming out with a lot more choices that were already made for you in prison. Now what do you do?
Right, and it's maybe racist is not exactly the right descriptive word to use. Racially divided.
Racially divided
is a better way to put it.
Right.
Because a racist comes from the heart.
Got it.
It comes from the heart, and you can go in there and be racially divided, but not a racist.
Correct.
If that makes sense.
Right. But once you get out, what needs to happen?
Well, I think Darnell, touched on it absolutely perfectly. These men, first of all, they need some understanding that they're coming from backgrounds and lifestyles to where, they probably haven't never picked up a trade, and it's very scary when you get out on the streets.
Right.
After being incarcerated, your whole mindset, let me say, is either to go out and maybe do some drugs, have a woman, and go right back into prison. There is a very strong culture.
But for those who don't want to do that,
for those that don't want to do that,
it's
the fear. It's the fear to get out with $200. By the time you buy clothes and a meal, you have nothing.
Right.
You don't have any trade, something that you can get into. Most people don't have skills and knowledge on how to apply for a job.
Right.
They have the whole felon thing that they have to deal with, and without making it confusing, I'm not trying to, but they need somebody that absolutely understands them when they get out, understands where they're hindered at, and can coach them along in a way that doesn't baby them, holds them accountable for what, makes them accountable men, but leads them in a way that directs them into a trade or, you know, just that helping
Got
hand,
it.
something that, that gives them something steady to achieve
Right.
a little hope in life, I guess.
So what I basically heard from you and Darnell is when they come out, there's a big problem in terms of where they're going to get employed with no skills. So they need support. They need to have an accountability system, and they need to have a place where they can get life skills. So when they actually because prison is one environment and the outside world is a whole other environment. And some of them don't know the difference, right? So they need those life skills and that mentorship, and mainly they need to work. They got to find work, and they got to find work as a felon. So they need all this overall support that probably isn't happening because of very few reentry programs.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to wrap it up. Thanks, guys. A great discussion, and there you have it. You have it from our co-founder Darnell, and you have it from our great friend Glenn. So join us next time for our next topic of Men in Transition. Remember, you can see us at mitfreshstart.org.